Hey, hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and I'm so excited for today's episode where we are going to talk about outsourcing. And we've had a couple outsourcing episodes here and there, but usually I don't talk about it too much because it kind of scares people away. People are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to outsource. If I have to have a team, I'm not going to host a summit. But on the flip side, I know there are some of you who are ready to do more outsourcing to make hosting your summits significantly easier for you and less time consuming. And today is the day we're going to talk about that with a special guest who has this process down. So we're first going to talk about the larger scale outsourcing she does. And then we'll kind of like rewind and talk about how you can get started for those of you who are maybe still intimidated by the idea. So we can help both of you who have teams that you want to scale and those of you who still aren't quite sure about the whole team building idea. But to give you some background information on our guest, she is a no BS business coach and the host of the Business Breakthroughs podcast. She is on a mission to teach women how to start earning six-figure income online as soon as possible. And through tough love coaching and supportive community, her Becoming Boss Mastermind has quickly become one of the online business community's fastest growing and most affordable business coaching memberships for profitable blogs, coaches, and personal brands. She has hosted 4 virtual summits and hosts 2 bundles per quarter, so she has the process for hosting big events down. I cannot wait for you to hear more about how she makes this manageable for herself. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk with Faith Mariah. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we're internet friends, even though I don't think we've technically collabed on anything together. I just stalk your Instagram and listen to your podcast. So I'm like, Krista's my friend.
How silly is that? When Kate told me, she's like, Faith Mariah wants to come on the podcast. What do you think? I was like, hasn't she already been on? Haven't we done that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. I feel the same way.
I know. I've actually never done any of your events. I don't think you've been in ours. So it's so interesting because I feel like we're always talking and chatting and bouncing ideas around in the DMs, but it finally worked out. We're collabing.
Finally. Oh my goodness. Okay, before we dive into the outsourcing goodness, tell us a little bit more about your business. So what you do to help people. And I also want you to kind of break down just how many events you do in a year.
Sure. I started with a mental health blog and that took me to full-time income. I left my 9-to-5 and I did that. And as I was doing that, there were a lot of bloggers and coaches and people I knew online that were like, how are you making money? How did you get to leave your job? How did you do it? And I just kind of started helping people with their businesses, like my friends and internet friends for fun and hosting little free masterminds. And I always really loved helping people with their business. And that just ended up kind of taking off for me. And now it's a multiple 6-figure coaching program that we run. And I really, really, really love it and love that I get to help people make money online. It's totally changed my life. And I want to help other people find that result. I lost me to a train of thought. What was your question?
Yeah, just telling us more about your business, which I feel like you've done. Something that stands out to me, though, is like the no BS approach. I feel like I want to hear a little bit more about that.
It's just my personality. I just am like a straight shooter and I just try to be very honest with clients. And I always think, people hire me to be a business coach. They don't necessarily just need my friendship. Sometimes they need me to show them their blind spots and where they're not seeing things and the perspective that they're missing. And, I tell clients all the time, okay, I have to say something to you. This is going to be hard to hear. Are you kind of telling everybody okay, we have to have a little tough conversation, right? It's coming. But my clients really love that, right? They want help. People really want help. And I think, that can be a hard job as a coach of saying the things people don't necessarily love to hear. But I take that very seriously because I'm people hired me for help. And I just think that's the best way I can help them. So we try to just shoot it straight in my community and tell people the truth and what we think and what we see in a way that's, supportive and helpful, obviously, too.
I love that. I feel like we could use more of that. So I think I love that you lead with that in your messaging and everything.
Yeah. Well, my community is kind of funny because I was a social worker for 10 years. So I always joke, I have a support group for entrepreneurs. So it's definitely tough love, but it definitely has a support group vibe too. So I don't want you guys to all think I'm this crazy, no BS tough love coach. It's like that, but with a little social worker supportive support group vibe too.
The perfect mix. The perfect mix. Okay. My second part of the question then was like, tell us about just how many, like what your rhythm is for events each year.
Well, we basically kind of do a big event every month on my team. So I do quarterly planning, and that's what we do in my mastermind too, is we do 90-day planning. So for me, I go quarter by quarter. Each quarter we do one B2B list building event that's business to business. That's where like I'm going to collab with all of my business friends and our business network, and we're going to tap everybody's shoulder and try to get everybody to come collab with us. So to grow my email list for my business coaching business I have. We do one B2C event each quarter, and that's to help my clients that are in the mastermind grow their email list and get new people. And then we do one big major launch event a quarter. So that pretty much maxes us out because that puts us at 3 pretty large scale events each quarter, one a month, pretty much 12 a year, all year long. And we've been doing it now. This is our second year at that pace. We were not always at that pace, just for anybody listening. That's like, that sounds like a nightmare. We didn't start at that pace. And obviously I have help. That's, something I told Krista I could talk about certainly is outsourcing. Because I think people hear that, and they see me doing the events and the stuff. And they're like, oh, I don't know how you do that. I could never do that in my business. Like, I don't know how you're doing all these events all the time. Like, that just seems like so much work. And I'm always like, it is like the least amount of work ever. It's so great. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like I'm paying other people to do the work. So
yeah, that's like the only way that kind of business model would be sustainable. But like we were talking about this beforehand, I was like, oh my gosh, I know some people will probably fall out of their chairs when they hear that. But it sounds so fun and exciting to me. And you have like cracked the code when it comes to outsourcing for these big collaborative events.
Yeah.
And it's so great. So tell me a little bit about what that outsourcing looks like. What kinds of things are you outsourcing? And maybe next we'll break down team members involved. So first, let's talk about what kinds of things you outsource.
Yeah. I'll also tell you guys when we're thinking about outsourcing too, like as far as the budget, I'm never just like throwing money out and hoping it comes back. I did them on my own first. And then I saw that we made money. And I was like, oh, well, then I can afford to hire someone to do these tasks. And if I can afford to hire someone, we can scale them up and they will make more money. And so that's kind of my vision for it all along. And I think it's important when you're hiring people that you have a plan of how you're going to get an ROI, right? So I'm not just like having people do random things. I'm having them do things I know are going to get us a return on investment. I know I have built my business to where we have the audience that we can get that return. And the returns have been very consistent for us. Every event we've done has been profitable by at least thousands of dollars pretty much, right? And it's interesting because I'm not someone that's doing like $100,000 summit or something. But to me, I'm like doing it for list building for my other launches throughout the year. So if I can make $2,000 or $3,000 and get the leads I need for my launch, like that to me is like a win-win-win-win all day long. I didn't answer your question. I have ADHD, you guys. Y'all have to like buckle up with me. I was just wanted to get that part about cost down before we talk, because I just don't want me throwing money out, like thinking, oh, I just spent a bunch of money and then somehow by magic I make the money back. It's like, I had a strategy. I knew kind of how much I could pretty much make at an event before I hired someone and brought someone on. And I think that's important.
Oh, totally. Totally. I love that you brought that up too, because like this last event we hosted, I had more team involved than I ever had before. I did very little direct work on it. I did more of the guidance and overarching strategy and where my face needed to be. And if it would have been just the summit revenue that I was relying on, I would have profited a few $1,000s, but like you, I'm relying on that launch revenue on the back end. So it is so important to know your numbers. How much are you going to make through the summit? Does it make sense if you're not launching anything extra to have this big team, or how much team does it make sense to have? So that's a great point, and it's something that I want you all to think about before you go start throwing huge teams at these events. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. As far as like what I'm doing and what they're doing, I pretty much, this brand I have is a personal brand. It's a coaching brand. It's people hiring me to come in and help them with their business, help them with their mindset, help them with all this stuff. So I'm like the face of the brand. Like I'm out there, right? There's a lot of things in the business that only I can do that I can't outsource. So like a lot of the stuff I do in my mastermind with my clients and the coaching and the podcast interviews and the social media content, like that all is like, yeah, it's my face out there, right? Me doing it. Everything else, if it doesn't have to be done by me, my goal in the business is that it's not done by me at this point. And just for everybody listening, like we're doing about 230,000 of revenue of sale. That's sales, not profit, right? But just so everybody kind of has an idea of like where I'm at. But at this point, it's like anything that can be done by someone else needs to be done by someone else. So if it's not my face and it's not me doing it, then I'm not doing it. And the events, there's a lot of stuff on the back end. So to me, these are like ideal things to outsource. They're, sending emails, following up, pitching people, making landing pages. Like, I'll finalize that stuff. But at this point, my assistant Kelsey that has been with me for the last couple of years doing this stuff, she's pretty darn good. So she'll give me stuff and I'll go in and like tweak it around a little bit. But at this point, we have a lot of templates. We have a lot of SOPs. We have all that stuff built out where she just follows the same process every time.
That's awesome. So you have it sounds like a group of team members doing the work. You have Kelsey kind of overseeing them, and then you're kind of giving like approvals and the final say on things.
Yeah, kind of. We even more basic than that. Like Kelsey really doesn't even have anybody under her right now. I think she will coming up because I'm launching a new brand and like doing a bunch of other stuff that's going to be coming. I know it's like, let's do more is more. We're in Faith Mariah land, right? So I think we will be getting her an assistant this year. We do have one assistant kind of that everybody on my team, all my main VAs kind of share that they can bounce things to if they just need a bunch of graphics made or they just need a bunch of posts scheduled. Like we have an assistant that all of us kind of share that we will bounce stuff to for that. So it's pretty basic. It's mostly like Kelsey doing this stuff. And then if she needs me to look at something, she's in the Slack like, hey, can you look at this? Or, hey, I finished this page. Can you approve it? That kind of stuff.
Okay, cool. So it's not necessarily that you have a designer, a developer, a copywriter. It's like a VA or VAs that can do the things you need to be done.
Yeah, I do everything in-house. So one of my good friends is also a finance manager, and she helps coaches with like money, managing their money. And she helps me with the money in my business. And she always says, you get so much out of your team for what you spend. She's like, your overhead is actually really low. And she's like, I think people think you have this huge team and all these expenses, but we're pretty lean. And so I do everything in-house. So that means if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm not going to go hire a podcast management studio. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to write how I want it done step by step, right? SOP is just, people get really freaked out by the word SOPs. SOPs is just writing out how you do it or making a video, showing someone how you do it. It's not scary. It's just like, here's how you do it. So I figure how I want it done. I do it myself. I figure out what I like, how I like it, what I want done. And I just put all that in an SOP and then it goes in Asana and I can assign it to a team member. And so everything is in-house. That way it's a lot cheaper to pay a VA hourly than if I were to go to a podcast production studio and say, can you produce my podcast? I want you to do the audio. I want you to cut clips. I want you to book guests. You're looking at thousands of dollars a month to hire somebody like that to do that for you. Right. And so I basically make all my own processes in-house. The same with ads. Right now, we're trying to go into running ads. I'm not going to go hire a Facebook ads person because that's going to cost, again, thousands of dollars plus the cost of ads. And I want, instead of paying someone to do that, I want to put all that money towards ads. And I also want to learn how to do it myself so I know how all these things work. So I'm learning how to do the ads. I'm going to do it myself. I'm setting them up. But eventually I can bring a VA on and say, these are the things I check every week. These are the analytics we look at. This is how I make the copy. This is how I make the graphics. And then it will be handed off to someone else and then I won't do it anymore. So it always kind of starts, I'm the first one that does it. And then I make the process and then I bring a VA in and pay them hourly to do it. And I really love that because I have great VAs. I'm able to give them flex scheduling. Everybody, a lot of people on my team have kids and family, and I'm able to give them good jobs where they can make money that are in a way I think that's not too stressful for them. It's not like a high stress environment, right? Where they can flex their schedule and have a lot of freedom. And I like that I can provide that for other people. And they're also entrepreneurs. So they're growing their business on the side too. And I love that too.
Yes. Having a team is so much more rewarding than I ever expected. It can also feel like a lot of pressure at times, but so rewarding to be like, I'm helping them create their dream life. And that's really flipping cool. Like,
it is.
Like, we start our businesses to create our own dream life and then get to do it for, our clients and students in a way, but more immediately our team. And
it's just like so nice to have people to understand what's going on and talk about the business with, and that really understand the nuances of little things. And it's nice not being so isolated. And yeah, I rely on them a lot, especially as someone that has ADHD, and I have depression and PTSD too. So I manage all of that as a business owner, and I rely on them like a lot. And I wouldn't be able to do all this without them, right? And so I think it also comes back to like, if you want to scale, like why, like knowing why you want to do that. I think that's important. I think for a while, the online business space has kind of just been like more is more and bigger, more money. Everybody's doing, $100 bajillion months and all this stuff. But, for me this last year, I really had to look at like, we're at 230. I could like stay here and like life is pretty nice here for Faith Mariah at multiple 6 figures of revenue. Like I have the team I want. I get to do what I want. I like what we're doing. And I really had to look at like, do I want to scale? Right. And what does that look like? And what would change about my role? And I think those are important questions to ask yourself, right? For some people, like you really might not want to supervise people, right? And that's okay. I also am really bad at supervising people. And I'll tell you, one of my hacks is I have a business manager who's great at SOPs and super organized. And she really, really helps me kind of manage the team. And so the other thing I'll say is like, if you're not good at something, like when you're good at outsourcing, you kind of can find people to do those things, right? So I'm a disorganized creative. I have ADHD. I have 1,000 ideas and a million things going on all the time. I have a business manager who is extremely organized. She's like extremely organized. She's very good at systems. She's very good at the things I'm not very good at, right? She's good at managing people and staying on top of deadlines and like stuff that I just that's not my zone of genius, right? But you don't have to be good at everything. And I think that's really what outsourcing kind of taught me is like, I don't have to be the one to do everything. And there's people that are better at doing some of this stuff than me. And that was like a big learning curve moment, I think, for me.
Yeah. So much gold in that. And like, I'm hoping that people who do have teams are kind of being inspired with maybe a new way of looking at them, and people who don't have teams yet are kind of seeing what's possible with it and what it can look like. It doesn't have to be this big, huge, expensive, stressful thing. It can be something that should be something that serves you so well and makes perfect sense for the type of business model you run. So like, I guess thinking more about those people who are new to outsourcing or new to the idea, can you tell me a little bit about how you got started with it?
Sure. I mean, I started just with a VA. My business grew really quickly. Like, so there was a long time where like, nothing is happening. I had no idea what I was doing. And then there was kind of a year, it was during COVID in 2020. It was like, all of a sudden I had 3 different businesses and all of them like doubled, like almost overnight. It was crazy. That year was like very, very crazy. And I had definitely never run a multiple 6-figure business, had barely been dabbling around 6 figures. All of a sudden, it had all these opportunities, all this stuff going on. And our processes just were not there. Things really came off the rails, to be honest. And I had one VA that worked for me, and she would sign on every day and start crying because it was so stressful and overwhelming. And that's when I hired Rebecca, who's my business manager. And she really came in and like made processes and got things right. But my lesson with the first VA was like, I had a personal brand and I always just felt like, well, it has to be me. Like I have to be the one. Like people can't make the graphics like I make them, and people can't do the updates like I do them. And it has to be me. No one else can do it. There's things like I can't teach. And then when I got my first VA, she's a lot better at graphics than me. She was a lot better at that. The person I had before, like she was a lot better at copywriting than I was. And like, I just like I was just like, wow, like, you know, I think part of being a good CEO is just being willing to just be completely wrong. And I just really took a step back and I was like, oh, I was like completely wrong about that. I was like, there's not only can people do things that I can do, they can do them better. And so my expectation with the team is like, not only that they do everything the way I would do it, but they actually do it better than I would do it. And that's the expectation that I hold for them. And yeah, it has been like life-saving to me. I can't like say enough good things about our team and how we do things. Like it just really has allowed me to do so much and grow so much in the last few years. And now it feels easy and doesn't feel like overwhelming. I felt way more overwhelming when I didn't have the processes. It's so funny because as a new entrepreneur, baby entrepreneur, Faith was like, I have built a freedom business. I cannot be scheduled. I will not have office hours. I will not use a sauna. Like, I will not be like, I will not business that way. Right. And in my mind, like, I was really after like freedom, right. And not feeling restricted, but not having the processes set up and not having the things set up. I ended up spending all my creative energy, like thinking about what needs to be done next, what has to happen, who's doing what. Like, I don't keep track of any of that in my head anymore. All of it is in Asana. All of it is built in processes. And so I just sign on and sign off every day. And that, makes the biggest difference in the world.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, after anything we do, there's always at least one message from me in Slack. Like, you guys, I could not have done this without you. Thank you so much. And I mean it with every ounce of my being. Like, I know it's like overwhelming to think about getting started with the team, but like, once you do, you're not going to ever want to or be able to go back.
A lot of people too, like a lot of you guys do a disservice to yourself by being unwilling to hire at all. And our brains love to do like black or white thinking, right? Where it's like, I either have to have no team and it's only me, or I have this like crazy mega corporate team I'm managing of like 30 people. And it's like, there's a lot of steps in between there. And most of you would be very surprised what a good VA can do for you in an hour or two a week. You would be shocked. And it'll cost you what, $100 to get someone to come in for a couple hours and like do your email or just do the time suck thing that you hate doing. There's probably a way to outsource it, and it probably wouldn't even cost you that much money. And trust me, it's just so worth it. And you need those skills. If you're someone that's like, yeah, I actually do want to scale and I do want to be able to have time off and I don't want to be like chained to this business, then you have to learn how to outsource. So just start with an hour or two a week. And then as I make more money and the business grows, then we give people more hours on the team. We hire more people. We do more outsourcing, and I'm just kind of scaling up as the business scales.
Yeah. I'm assuming that a question some people would have if they're like, okay, I hear you, is where do I even go to find someone? Do you have a process for how you hire new team members at all?
I hire in my community. I'm kind of spoiled because I am like a B2B business coach. So my business manager, Rebecca, that has been with me for years now, for like 5 years or something. She was a student of mine. Kelsey, that does our events, she was a student of mine at one point. And just kind of knowing other entrepreneurs. But I would say like the best place is like, if you have a good course you love where you're connecting with online business owners, hopefully you have some kind of community of other entrepreneurs. Like, I'm really passionate about that. Like, please go meet other like business owners and talk to other entrepreneurs. Like, don't isolate yourself. You don't want to be isolated on Entrepreneur Island. It's not a fun place to be. Trust me. You need friends there. It's a lot more fun when you're on that island with your friends. Right. And so go ask your friends, like if they know anybody that would be looking for side hustle work for a couple hours a week. If they know anybody that has a VA, I go to my friends. I start tapping everybody, like Krista and Kate Doster, like all my little buddies I know that I trust. I'm like, do you guys know anybody? We need somebody on to bring on the team to do this for a couple hours a week. I always start people at like an hour or two a week, and we scale them up too. That's the other thing is like, I don't usually bring someone on and we're like, here's a whole, I'm like, do this thing. And then I kind of see how they are. And we see if we like them on the team, if they work well. I am not an easy person to deal with and work with. And I know that it's not, the people that work for me love it and they have stayed for a long time. We have very low turnover, but I'm not the kind of person anybody can work with. I have 1,000 things going on all the time. I work at a really high level and we go fast. And that's just not for everyone. And I'm also not going to supervise you basically at all. I'm not going to handhold you. And I'm just going to expect all your stuff is done and that it's done correctly and right. And like, no one's going to check behind you. Like, that just is the way it is. Right. And so, yeah, that was a lot, but
I love this. I feel like our styles are very similar in some ways.
I'm like, I'm not checking. Like, I'm not your mom, right? It's like,
I love that. And as you were talking, I was thinking about my team as well. And almost all of them have started in the same way where I've hired them for a smaller position. And as they get used to it, as the business grows to adjust,
yeah,
they get more and more like Kate, who has been with me since 2020 now, she's a full-time employee on my team. She started with 10 or 15 hours a week. And within a couple months, I was like, actually, do you want to go full-time? And she did. But I saw that she was a good fit. She liked the work. The business grew very quickly and I needed that help. And it like just made so much sense. So it doesn't like, I love that you don't have to go hire this like full-time OBM as your first position. In fact, you probably shouldn't. Like it can be these lower pressure hires. And that was such a good point.
Just get someone for a couple hours a week and get used to delegating tasks, get a system for yourself. You have to figure out where are you going to put the tasks? How are you going to assign them? Like you need to get that stuff set up anyway. And like you want to do it sooner rather than later. If you're thinking, I should probably hire a VA, or you should have already, you're like, I should have already hired someone a while ago. Get on it, because like Krista's saying, we get opportunities in business. Sometimes you don't see those big jumps coming where something will happen and you're like, oh, we're at like a new level over here. Like, oh, like it sounds crazy, especially if you're new. I know it feels like nothing's happening, but it always looks like that, where you're just like, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like we just like went from, it feels like in the moment overnight, but it's usually taking all of those little actions you've been doing over time over the last year. And then, maybe somebody wants to do a big affiliate launch for you, or you get invited onto a big podcast, or you get like some kind of opportunity that can really change your numbers. And you want to have people behind you in place, because if you're already feeling like, I don't have anybody on board, I don't have any team members, like what happens to your business when you do get that opportunity is like, you will not have the capacity to really make it go the way you want, right? And take advantage of those opportunities. So it's also being positioned, like if your business was to do really well this next quarter, do you even have the capacity to handle that? Right. And still serve everybody at the same level and get everything done at the same level you've been doing it. And so I just think if you feel like you might need someone there, like get someone for an hour or two a week. And then like a lot of times people will want to scale up with you and they'll be like, yeah, I could do 5 hours. Yeah, I could do 10 hours. Like, or they'll know someone that does usually.
That is such a good point, that like it is possible to grow almost too fast. And when you don't have that support, it's a problem. And I actually have a client right now who's coming to mind who,
when you're solo, it will kill you.
Yeah. And like, especially like since we're here on the Summit Host Hangout podcast, I'll pull in how that ties into summits, where I just had this client come in. She had one, I don't know if it's a full-time or part-time team member, but one team member. And she was in a niche where I knew she was set up for very big numbers. And I know we had the conversation like, you might need more help. But of course, there's that natural concern there. Like, I don't know if I can pay for that. Like, I just don't want to have any extra expenses. Her and her team member were up till 2 a.m. every night answering emails because they had tens of thousands of people sign up for this event, and it's 2 of them. Like, I always hire a little bit ahead. I hire when it's just a little bit uncomfortable. Like, I need some growth for it to pay off. And the business always grows to match it every single time. Never once have I been like, oh, dang, guess I better fire him. Like, no, it always matches, what you are willing to give it. So,
yeah, I think that too. I actually think one of my most expensive mistakes I ever made was waiting to hire my first VA. And I think it cost me like $100,000. I think we could have easily gotten to $200,000 a year early. So, I think, and in my mind, I was a hustler. I had that mentality, like where I'm like, I will be successful. Like this is just happening for me. And that's just what it is. And like everybody and everything can get out of my way because I'm just unavailable for anything but success and growth in this business, period. And I really built my business to 6 figures in that mindset. And I really was like, I grew up in poverty, right? So I have a lot of scarcity mindset. I, grew up in a trailer with no air conditioning. And at one point, like after grad school, like lived in a tent. And like, I've been like as broke as someone can be. And so to me, when I saw that money come in, like, I was just like,
yes,
I have to keep it. Like, it was like, I could just feel my little fist like clutching it, right? And it was like, I can't, like, I just didn't understand like reinvesting into team. Like, yeah, it's a bill you pay, but it's a bill that ends up making you more money in the long run because it gives you so much more capacity to make more money. And I think that mentality ended up being one of my most costly mistakes I've ever made in the business, was being too slow to hire holding the profits like too tight, not wanting to reinvest anything back. And, this is at a point where we're doing six figures. So this is not at a point where I'm not talking about like the first week of my business or something, right? I'm talking like 4 years in, we're at six figures. I've figured a lot of things out at this point. I had grown a pretty big audience for myself at that point, and I just like could not bite the bullet to hire someone. It made me so anxious to think about having someone else like financially reliant on the business. But once I was able to get past that, like you're saying, we went from 1 to 2 so fast. It like blew my mind, blew my mind how fast.
Oh my gosh, so good. And I know we could literally probably talk about this all day, but I think this is probably already blowing people's minds. So I'm going to cut us off here, but I want you to let people know where they can go to learn more about you, more about your membership, more about the way you do things, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm at faithmariah.com. I have a podcast. We put out a weekly podcast. That's probably the best place to go follow me. I also post like goofy stuff and business stuff on my Instagram if you want to check that out. If you're an Instagram girly, definitely come hang out with me over there. That's like my favorite place to hang out right now. But yeah, just go to faithmariah.com and you'll see all our events. We're actually hosting a bundle for B2C people. So if you guys are looking for collaboration opportunities, we do host these events all the time. So if you're looking to collab, hit me up. I probably have an opportunity you can get on.
I love it so much because I know a lot of our people are. So we will link to all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. For show notes, all the links, all that good stuff, head to the link in the episode description. For now, go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high converting virtual summit.